Hello, hi, and welcome to Political Quickie, your political show that subjectively discusses political headlines in South Africa and all around the world. My name is Mapasika Mura. Bill Pottinger then did it. It then did it. So, the UK PR firm apologized to South Africans because it went on a campaign to divide us by using inequality and race. So the firm was hired by Oak Bay Capital, which is a company owned by the Guptas. Big surprise. So again, it's no surprise, according to the emails, that people of the ANC, like ANC Youth League President Colin Maine, were coached by Oak Bay employees in terms of what to say during media briefings. And just last week here on Political Quickie, we had that conversation about how the ANC seems to be using the same narrative to defend itself whenever it's in hot water, race and inequality. So is it a coincidence that the Guptas and the ANC are using the same narrative? So, three things to note from this very situation. Number one, we need to take control over media. Said it before, I'll say it again. Bill Pottinger was able to do this because it used Gupta media, NN7, The New Age, and social media. Number two, the Guptas and the ANC are obviously using the same narrative to blind us from their thuggish ways. Big surprise. Number three, these narratives are not completely false. Race and inequality are a problem in this country, so they just built on that and they amped it up. It is our responsibility as the people, especially young people, intellects, woke people, to fix the situation. Systematic situation. And I've said it before, media, business, politics, that is the way that we solve the situation. We do not look to the government and say, hi, please solve this situation that we have. Because if we had an effective government, inequality and systematic racism, that would be solved. But here, day in and day out, we're having the same conversation. Not good. Moving on, however, to another situation that's very close to my heart, the International Criminal Court. It is an ongoing debate in terms of whether South Africa should remain within the International Criminal Court. It did try to leave, but then later on reversed its withdrawal from leaving the International Criminal Court, which is like, you want to stay, then you don't want to stay. What is going on? So the International Criminal Court is a court that prosecutes international crimes like genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. I mean, back in the day when I was just book smart, I used to think this was an amazing tool to bring greedy and life-sucking individuals to book. Until I realized something very interesting. Genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity are sort of the core of brand Africa. I mean, sure, we're known for our resources, but the number one thing that we're known for is crime, war crimes, and genocide. When I think of genocide, I think of Rwanda. When I think of war crimes, I think of the DRC and CAR. When I think of crimes against humanity, I'm thinking child soldiers. I'm thinking blood diamonds and the likes. And that's sort of the African narrative and sort of what we are known for. The International Criminal Court is not as objective as it should be. There are two things that bother me about this court. Number one, its sole focus seems to be on Africa and Africa alone. And number two, it seems to be dealing with the symptoms of the problem and not getting to the source of the problem. 40 of the people who've been indicted, and these are the only people who've been indicted, are all Africans. Bothersome, right? You can't say we have a problem all over the world, but we are only going to punish Africans, right? In the sense that when the USA and Russia drop a bomb in Aleppo, that's not a war crime, right? Although that's the definition of war crime. No, that is actually self-defense and counterterrorism according to international law. Bothers my liver. If we were indeed objective, International Criminal Court would be going after the real culprits. Not saying that these leaders are not problematic, they are not causing the things to happen, but I'm saying that there are other criminals that you just seem to be turning a blind eye on. People who are mining blood diamonds, people who are enslaving children to collect cocoa in order to make chocolates, people who are selling guns to African countries. And you're just like, no, you are pardoned. We don't really care about those things, but we care about these Sudanese and these Kenyans who are doing those things, who are symptoms of the source of the problem. You know what we need? What we need is an African criminal court. See, if Africa was a country, we would just be punishing ourselves instead of needing a third party from outside to actually call us to book. What is wrong with us, Africa? What is wrong with us? Anyways, on international news, Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump met for the first time in their official capacity and got the G20 summit in Germany. So they met, and the meeting was really cool. Like, I thought they're like two dudes who knew something that we didn't. That's how they looked to me. And they had a meeting after that for like 2 hours and 15 minutes. And apparently Donald Trump confronted Vladimir Putin on the whole interference in the whole elections in the US, and Vladimir obviously denied it. And my thing is, let's just keep pretending that apparently they haven't had this conversation before, or they haven't met before. Let's keep pretending, because we're those people. Anyways, I love you guys. Be awesome. Go out there, use your talents to serve humanity. Be awesome. And don't forget to go to YouTube and actually subscribe to the channel. I love you a lot.